so Marvel just announced a while ago, but the first female-led superhero movie coming out soon, probably later if they don't get any more rights.
Okay.
But would you like to cameo in that movie? Because Captain Marvel is probably a generation of girls who grew up watching you and seeing what you can do and knowing what you can do after you.
Yeah, there's something incredibly powerful when, and I'm sure both the men and the women in the audience are very well aware of this, but when a group of women get together, especially in a bar on a Friday night, but like the power of having women together is quite extraordinary. And the way that they take care of each other, and a different kind of strength comes out. And to be able to be an ensemble with other women, it would just be a complete dream and a joy. I don't know how much work we'd actually get done, but I don't think it would matter.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I love that the question is coming from a fellow Stark. Yeah, there you go. Hello.
Okay, hi. So first of all, you're absolutely amazing. But my question is, if you could play anyone else in the Marvel universe, who would you play and why?
Gosh, it's really hard. I mean, I have an affinity with Steve Rogers, and especially because Chris is so amazing and hot and is amazing like that. It's really hard to say, and I've been asked that question quite a few times, but it's something that when you're in the Marvel universe, you feel very kind of protective and distinctive within your own character, within your own world. That you feel also that having met some of the other Avengers and other Marvel characters, they're doing such an extraordinary job in defining who they are, that I wouldn't want to try and impose my take on them. So I know I'm being really lame and not saying someone else, but I really think that people are becoming, a lot of the characters are becoming so brilliant at creating this imaginative world for them that I wouldn't want to impose. I'd do a terrible job.
Thank you. Does it ever cease to be surreal when you say things like, having met some of the other Avengers?
Well, when they met me, I mean, they were just... it's just part of daily life now.
Yeah.
It is. It's lovely. I mean, the ones I have met everyone, but they're normal people that are doing a great job in this really exciting world that people love. So it's a pleasure. I feel very, very delighted.
We were hanging out with Cap last week.
Yeah.
Hi.
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 So I wanted to know if we would ever get to see Peggy start S.H.I.E.L.D. and if that's something you would like to see as well.
Yeah. Well, the exciting thing is we know that Peggy, obviously, from the second Captain America film, she is 96 years old, so we know that she's had a very full life. And if we think about the decades that she would have lived in, we're talking the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then 2000s. And so in that, think about the tremendous amount of social change that was happening in that time, and how the possibility for this show, for as long as it runs, to be able to explore and keep up with the changing times in that world. Which is just really fascinating, because we can explore civil rights, and we can explore kind of the women's movement, and we can explore various wars, and also obviously within that, the imaginative world of creating things like S.H.I.E.L.D. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for her to be a part of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. Marvel has actually come under some criticism recently about whether or not they really do support feminism. Various directors and actors, things they've said. And I'm kind of wondering, like, have these people even watched Agent Carter? Because, you know, I think that kind of speaks for itself, but as the actor who plays Agent Carter, what would you say to those critics?
It's a good question. I mean, I haven't seen the actual criticism, so it's very hard for me to make an informed opinion on it without seeming a bit, in my own head. But I think Marvel gave me a show. A female-centered show where they asked me to come into the writer's room every day, to speak to the showrunners, to have a say in the costumes, to have a say in the stunts and the way that we wanted to tell the story. I don't know necessarily of any other studio system in Hollywood where that seems to be, for a relatively unknown actress, an opportunity. So all I can say is, that's the evidence that Marvel love women and that they're setting the groundwork for other shows like mine to be made. And they took a chance on me, and here we are at season 2, and it's paying off. And it's thanks to their belief in me and the show. So I have no criticism in that respect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would certainly add to that, that when you watch that show, and it does not go into trope territory, where it so easily could have been. So with those critics, watch the show, really. Hi.
Hi. I mean, obviously Peggy Carter's become like a huge role model for women and girls everywhere, and I just sort of wondered if you had ever consciously done something in the hopes of being a positive influence.
Well, I hope it's also for boys and men, not just the girls. And I think it's not so much about, let's support the women, but also let's support the men to support the women. I think that's just as relevant. And I didn't kind of set up to do that. I think it's a natural byproduct of the show. I mean, what was the second part of your question?
Have you ever consciously done something or said something that you wanted to be a positive influence?
I think it was a natural, growing up in London and having very liberal parents who were interested in modern psychology and were interested in universal spiritual principles and the belief in liberation for human beings, not just women, but for men as well. And I think I felt very lucky and fortunate that they brought me up to often say things like, you're smart, you have a voice, rather than, you're so pretty, oh my God. And you look so skinny in that dress. They weren't people who instilled those kind of values in me. They just said, stand up, speak clearly for what you believe in, and trust yourself, and trust that you came into this world with an innate set of skills that are completely personal to you. And it's almost your responsibility to let yourself shine, because in doing that, you can only ever make other people shine. And that's what I'm interested in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, what do you think of Cardinelli and Jack Daniels?
And Jack,
Jack Daniels, yeah.
Jack Daniels, the whiskey.
The whiskey?
Do you mean Suzanne?
Suzanne Thompson.
Yeah.
Suzanne Thompson?
Oh, sorry. Oh my God, I was not with it.
I thought this was a booze question.
what Angie and Carter with a bowl of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great. What do I think of them in terms of the relationship, the dynamic of them as characters? I think they're very well fleshed out. I think they were cast incredibly well because they're very different people and they have a different approach to the show. And they all bring their kind of different level of wit and humor and seriousness. And the main thing was having the right kind of chemistry between the person that we cast as Angie. And her audition was just so superior to everyone else's because we did the scene, but then at one point the director whispered in my ear to confide in Angie and say, I'm a spy, and see how she reacted. And so in the middle, can you imagine preparing for your role, learning your lines, you go in, you do them, and in the middle of them, the other actress opposite you just goes, I'm a spy. And her reaction was so spot on and so Angie, and such a mixture of bewilderment, shock, and disgust. But she nailed the job and got it. So I think that it's part of the success of the show that we've cast it incredibly well and had such different and very talented actors being part of it.
Certainly. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. Sorry. It seems Peggy's fighting style is just to pick up a random object and swing. I was wondering if you had a favorite random object that you got to beat someone up with.
Please don't say water bottle. Please don't say water bottle.
Microphone. Well, it's got to be the stapler. When I read it, I just thought, oh God, that's got to hurt. Wow. But that's also partly why I like her. She kind of fights dirty in the sense that she doesn't have any superpowers, so she just has to use what's around her. So it's very intelligent fighting, and the fact that she can do it in high heels is very impressive. So I'll go with the stapler.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. with upcoming season 2, what are the chances that there will be another female agent for Peggy to take under her wing, perhaps even a woman of color?
I think it's a fantastic idea, and it's something that we've already been talking about, because one thing that people have responded so well to was having the nemesis in Dottie, this supposedly kind of all-around American girl who was just lovely and a friend to Peg, and then all of a sudden it turns around and she has this extraordinary power and she uses it for evil. And that also creates an equality between the fights between Peggy and Dottie. They meet their match, and Dottie is almost the evil version of Peggy. And I think it's something that will continue. I mean, the exciting thing is we know from season 1 that Dottie is not dead. She managed to escape somehow, and I don't think we've seen the last of her. But then also, as you were saying, a woman of colour is incredibly important, and I think would be a fantastic idea. And it's something that I'll talk to the writers about and see what's out there.
Yeah. Well, and the episode where we go to the Russian facility where Dottie was trained, and there was so much crammed into that in a good way, that we have you meeting up with the Howling Commandos. Great to see them again. We have this intensity with a child that commits murder. Like, was that an episode where, for you, you realized, like, okay, we're going to just keep going here, and this just shows that this is going to be a no-holds-barred kind of show? Yeah,
definitely. Well, also, the thing that a lot of people don't know is that I was getting the scripts only 1 or 2 days before we shot any of them. Mm-hmm. Because they were being written as we were making them. For example, a lot of the chemistry between Jarvis and myself is because that's very much my relationship with James, so they kept writing it in. And the same thing with the Howling Commandos. What I thought was that the season would be initially about every episode trying to find another of Howard Stark's bad babies. Yeah. But because that's found in the early episodes, you go, well, where do you go from here? So then you have to bring in the Howling Commandos, you have to take it up a step, and there has to be twists and turns along the way to keep the audience on their toes, but also give them more than what they could ever expect.
Yeah. It was an excellent episode. Would you guys like to see the Howling Commandos come back for Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to say congrats on season 2. I found out I basically fangirl screamed.
You can fanboy scream too. I fanboy screamed.
That works too. I just want to make this quick so I don't hold up the line. Is it okay if I give you something?
Not right now, okay? Maybe after the episode, or after the panel, okay?
Okay. So, what is your favorite blooper with Jarvis?
Favorite blooper with Jarvis? Oh dear. It's I don't know if you. It's on my Instagram, and it's when I
don't have an Instagram.
Oh, okay. Oh well, I'll tell you about it. How about that? So it was Halloween, and I was on set every day, and sometimes it would just be me, so I'd get a bit bored. And then I found out James was on his way, and he was running a little bit late. So I just decided to hide in his trailer, and I kind of jumped up on his table and hid behind a mirror, and I saw him kind of going, I could hear him outside go, hello, good morning, lovely to see you all, yeah, lovely. And I'm just going to get ready now, and walks into his trailer, and I just screamed at him. And his response is on the Instagram. It's, and I'll try and post it on Twitter. It's phenomenal because he does a mixture of absolute horror, terror, despair, heart attack, and then fit of giggles like a schoolgirl. He then falls onto the couch and then slides down onto the floor. And he's still got his backpack and his coat on. It's very un-Jarvis-like. It's absolutely, it was the highlight of my day. So that was my favourite. It didn't make the blooper reel, but it's, you should get an Instagram account, dude.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Since focus, yeah, I'll probably do.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. The entire spectrum of emotion, and just a short little clip. Hi.
Hi. So I've always loved the action sequences in Agent Carter, and I know you do a lot of your own stunt work. Is there anything specific you'd like to see in season 2, stunt-wise?
I'd like to see her use her heel to hurt someone. Quite cool. I'd like them to be more complicated. I like them to be a lot more daring. We have to up it now that we've set the bar for what she can do. And I would also actually like to explore where she got her quite haphazard, clumsy training from and who's to blame. So maybe a little bit of backstory into where exactly she trained and what it was that made her kind of develop this very rough physicality. But as I said, it would have to take a huge step up from what we've already seen in order to give the audience something new.
Certainly. Thank you. Hello.
Hello. I'm just wondering, in the superhero universe, it's mostly, and the movies and TV shows are mostly predominantly led by men. How does it feel, not only for your show to not be run by, for you to be more of the prominent, not only the prominent showrunners, but to lead the cast?
Well, it's another thing where, you know, I've probably, in my life, I can't say that I've had moments where I can say I felt the victim of overt sexism. I think it's part of my upbringing, being in a very cosmopolitan city of London, where I had very strong women around me and strong elders in my mother and grandmother and aunts and people like that I didn't ever see a difference. It was only kind of later on that I heard this thing about sexism that I started to see kind of subtly how it infiltrated everyday life. So in that respect, it feels kind of quite natural for me to be in the company of men and the company of women and to feel like I can lead without worrying about if my actual sex is going to influence or in any way kind of be detrimental. And I think but that's also a privilege. That's a huge privilege to be someone who's grown up with that feeling. And I know it's not something that is common, and that feels like therefore it's my responsibility to give out that message that it is possible.
Certainly. Thank you. Hello.
Hello again. My name is Vince. I know you didn't ask me, but being a semi-retired disabled veteran.
Wow. Give a round of applause.
Yeah.
You said about people telling you not beautiful, but you're more beautiful in person than you are on television. And the other thing is that, what was it like working with that gentleman that Captain America? I might get another applause for this. I actually joined the military because of Captain America. Believe it or not. So what was it like? What was it like being the Avenger? And one last thing, I cried before the plane crashed. Because you almost cried. So what was it like playing with him? Him specifically.
It was Chris or the character, would you say?
Actually both. Chris and Captain America.
Well, it was we took the job very seriously because obviously Captain America, the characters, as you said, have had a huge influence over the years, and was used incredibly positively in the war as a tool to promote service, and my father also served, and it was close to my life and my family in that respect. So it felt like a huge honor to be able to stand up and to represent someone, for Chris especially, for someone that had a huge kind of impact on people in this world. The other side of that is we never took ourselves too seriously. So Chris and I played a game on the iPad that was really popular at the time called Witch's Brew, which is a really, really silly game. And we would just kind of play computer games in the trailer and do running charades and do silly impressions of people on set and us take the mickey out of ourselves. But I think that's really important that you take the work seriously but not yourself seriously, because it's so important to develop a sense of humor about yourself in this industry where the work is important, but if you become worthy or you become arrogant about it, I think it takes away the warmth and it takes away the relatability for your audience.
Certainly.
And God bless you and thank you for your service.
God bless you, Vince. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, over here. Your face is covered.
Wow.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
How does it feel to be Agent Carter?
Well, sometimes it's really uncomfortable because of the amount of clothing that I'm wearing. And I've got to do lots of stunts in high heels. And Spanx and mic packs and harnesses and slips and skirts and jackets and all that sort of thing. So it's actually quite uncomfortable. But she's good fun. She has a lot of fun, and she likes the people that she works with, so I feel very blessed to be able to play her.
And occasionally she goes and gets her driver's license photo taken, which I think pretty much set Twitter afire with that. Just the lead up to that, were you just like leaving a set and you had to get over to the DMV, or what was the thought process?
There was no thought process other than, oh my god, I need my driving license. And so I had 20 minutes of a day of shooting, and so the producer just went, well, you're gonna have to go like that. And I literally had everything on, including a harness. And but I had this kind of big coat over me just to kind of, I was thinking, I'm gonna get recognized, this is gonna be so exciting. I turned up the DMV and I kind of whipped off the coat, and I was like, nobody cares. And then, so I had to go and just stand and have my picture taken, but I have what they didn't know is that I have the wig on, I have the lipstick, I have the whole of the shirt, everything. And so it's on my driving license, so thank you DMV for making my dream come true.
Yeah. I'm sure they recognize you, they just wanted to play it cool. You don't want to out an agent in the field, right? That must be it.
Absolutely.
Hi,
I tell myself.
You look fantastic, by the way.
Thank you very much. I'm a huge fan of like the 1940s and all the fashion and the home front and all of that jazz. What were your feelings on dressing in that kind of vintage 1940s style and working in that kind of set, you know, like being placed in the 40s and being around all those kinds of people?
Well, it does something to your posture and to your breathing, and you can't slouch when you're... the more physical the actual scenes became. But it's incredibly glamorous time, and I'll never forget when Chad Michael Murray came out on set, and it was the first time he tried on his sloping trilby, and he was just kind of like, hey ladies. And he looked handsome, and he knew it, and all the women were like, woo, you are a beautiful man. That's what's awesome, is that the men looked so fantastic. They just looked so clean. Distinguished, and they looked intelligent, even if they weren't.
That's the trick. Okay, yeah. And I think this might be our final question. Yes, sir. Hi. It's okay.
My question is, what do you think the best aspect of yourself in the show Agent Carter is, and do you feel like kicking someone?
On the set.
Well, I think it's a great question. I think the aspect of it is when I would get, when I was feeling less of Peggy than I should have been, I would think about what she would do. So if I was having moments where I was very tired, or I was frustrated, or I didn't know how to play a scene, I would think about Peggy, and I'd think that she had such determination and integrity and sense of what she knew was right and wrong. And so I would just think about her. So they're the gifts that I feel Peggy's given me in playing her. I think they're the main things. And I don't often feel like kicking someone, because I have children. I have decided that it's better to use our wit and intelligence than our fists. So there you go.